Welcome back, Trinidad. And to begin, as we continue our budget conversations, Ryan Baichu has been looking at the world of sport, and this is what he believes are some of the key issues plaguing the sporting sector as we walk into the budget 2020.
Well, good morning, Hames. 2 Mondays from now, it is the big day. It will be budget day, and it's an important budget for the sporting sector as well. Sport takes an average of 2 minutes of the minister's presentation generally, and it'll be interesting to see how much focus the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs gets this fiscal year, because as you know, this fiscal year is an Olympic year. I'm currently working on a special report called Financial Fair Play that will air next Tuesday. I've been talking to key stakeholders about the past year and also looking ahead.
This budget, from my perspective, is probably the most important budget in the history of sport in Trinidad and Tobago.
A strong statement from Olympic Committee President Brian Lewis looking ahead to the budget presentation on October 7th. For the TTOC head and many other national sporting associations, the next fiscal year is an important year because it's an Olympic year. What does the president of the TTOC look for in a budget the year before an Olympic Games?
What this president will look for is support, clear support for the athletes, because there is no margin for error in the year before an Olympic Games. The athletes, those who are on the Olympic qualification trail and well poised to get on the podium, no margin for error.
And it's those elite athletes that benefited the most in the last financial year. Finance Minister Com Imbert made one bold pledge in his 2018-2019 presentation.
I assure this Honourable House, by extension the national community, that all of our national teams will be fully funded.
If there were disgruntled associations, the screams for funding were certainly more silent. If you had to grade the Ministry of Sport and how it used its allocation over the last year, what would you say?
We have not had any problems with the Ministry of Sport.
But Ephraim Surrett and a few other associations may be isolated cases.
Financially, we have not received any support.
Sudhir Ramisa is the head of the Paralympic Committee. While Special Olympians were rewarded for their success at the World Games in March, the process for funding has left the Para president frustrated.
I mean, I've submitted documentation as required. I mean, I'll be honest, I did not submit for this year. But when you get no response from them, it's just, you tend to tell yourself, yeah, what, let me go ahead doing my job, and when they're ready, they'll talk to me.
2 weeks after the Olympic Games ends in 2020, the Paralympic Games will start on August 25th. Ramisa is hoping for a brighter fiscal year.
I would like to see greater commitment, greater support, not only for the organization, but most importantly for the athletes, not the ones who are established also, but those aspiring athletes.
It's a real balancing act for many of these association presidents, and also for Douglas Camacho, the chairman of the sport company. He has 15 sports under his remit and asked for a budget of $300 million to do his job in 2019.
The allocation in the budget to Sport TT itself was about 20% of our needs.
While several sporting associations have Vision Tokyo 2020, Camacho has to have a much broader vision.
The likelihood is we'll only have 5 or 6 sporting disciplines actually qualify for the Olympics. And there are sports that don't participate in the Olympics, like cricket, etc., which we can't not pay attention to. So I think it's twofold question. From the Olympic cycle, the ones in line and in stream, it's going to be critical to them. To the ones who are not in line, it is important and imperative that we don't let them fall by the wayside just because they aren't going to be involved in the Olympic cycle.
With over 50 sporting associations looking to Com Imbert on October 7th, he could be asked to be a superhero.
We have achieved the Herculean task, Herculean feat of stabilizing our vulnerable economy in the face of a $20 billion drop in annual revenue.
Minister Imbert could be asked to put on his cape again this year. It's going to be a huge year for local sport as we continue to build towards Tokyo 2020 Olympics and other international tournaments around the globe. You know, this recipe of only committing to national teams competing at international tournaments, it seemed to have worked for the government for the last 12 months. How far the finance minister is willing to divert from that this year is left to be seen. Hames?
Thanks so much, Rai. I really appreciate that report there. Ryan Bechu looking at what we can expect, and Ryan, wishing you a great day as well.